Hello, welcome to Sunday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and to a video that I doubt any of you are ever going to see. Now, why do I say that? Well, it's because this puzzle, I did a puzzle yesterday by ahaupt, and I've had several requests to solve this puzzle, which is also by ahaupt, and it appeared on Logic Masters Germany a while ago, and only 4 people have managed to solve it correctly. But apparently, yeah, a lot of our patrons would like to see me have a go at this, and I always try and do what they want. So I'm going to give it a go for you in a couple of moments. I'll just make an announcement first, which is that we are closing in. We're getting towards 1,500 patrons on Patreon, which is a staggering thing for us. A huge thank you to all of you who support us over there, and we hope we make it worth your while with all the extra content that we upload. What we're going to do is, if we manage to hit 1,500 patrons, we will release a puzzle hunt that we have created. Now, this puzzle hunt is epic. It is epic, and I think it's a suitable reward if we do manage to get to that milestone. So that's just an appeal, I guess. Any of you who may have been thinking about becoming patrons but who haven't yet, then there's a bonus in there coming soon, we hope. Now, let me tell you the rules of this puzzle. Normal Sudoku rules apply, except that the 9 regions aren't 3x3 boxes, but irregular shapes which need to be discovered. I'm just going to show you, I snipped an example puzzle here, so let's get that on the screen in case that's going to help us. So, a number in the top left of a cell indicates the sum of the digits in that cell's region that can be seen looking north, south, east and west from that cell. So if we look at this here, if we look at this 3, for example, this 3 is in a red region, and this cell sees itself and it sees the cell below it. But after that it sees nothing because there's a boundary for another region. Similarly, on the right hand side of it, there's a boundary for another region. Now, what else does it? Cells outside the same region obstruct the view. Now you can see that in the example. Look at this 6 here. So this is in a clue with size 10, and it sees 10, 6 plus 1 plus 3 is 10, but it doesn't see this 4, even though this 4 is to the west of this 10 clue. This grey area obstructs the view, so the clue given is only 10. Okay, and basically the only other rule is that the cell with the clue in the top left counts only 1 in the sum, and I think that's pretty obvious, isn't it? So in this 15 clue, it's adding the 6 plus the 4 plus the 5. Just because, you know, it's able to look north and west doesn't mean you add the 4 twice. You only add the 4 once. So they are the rules. I don't know, as I say, how this is going to go, but bear with me. Let me get rid of this, and yeah, I will try. I will do my best to solve it. Happy Father's Day to all those of you who celebrate such things. I don't know if it's Father's Day in the States today. It's certainly Father's Day in the UK. Now, with that, do try the puzzle first. Obviously, just click on the link under the video to do that. And with that, let's get cracking. Right, the 5 is interesting. The 5 is where my eyes are drawn first because it's the lowest clue. And remember the clue, this cell has to be part of a 9-cell region. So it can't be just a single cell, because then it would be part of a 1-cell region. So this 5 is going to have to go in one direction. It can only go 1 cell once it moves, because you can't make 3 cells in the same row add up to 5. So it's going to go 1 cell, and then it's going to turn. Now, the problem, of course, is that we have no idea which direction it goes in, so this is futile. Okay, the 5 is not where to start. We need somewhere else. 44 maybe, that's the biggest clue in the grid. Right, okay, so this is in a corner as well, so this can only look in 2 directions. It can only look that way and that way. And it must see 8 cells, because you have to get you have to use 8 cells to get to the number 44. We know that because if we add up all the numbers from 1 to 9, we get 45. So we know that this clue doesn't see the 1 in its region. I was tempted to say that means the 1's here, but I'm not sure it does actually, because 1, 2, yeah, if this was the shape of the region, then I suppose the extra cell could just be there. It just has to not be seen by this one. That's quite interesting as well, isn't it? Look, there are huge clues in a square pattern in the grid. That must be important, I feel. I've just got to work out why it's important. So, are these all part of different regions? Is that the idea? Is that what I've got to figure out here? So, if this square sees 8 cells, if those 8 cells allowed it to connect to a different region, yeah, that would break the puzzle, wouldn't it? Because if we think about this, if these were connected, let's connect them up, then these are the only cells this 44 sees, and 43, that must also be 8 cells, so these are the purple cells, are the only cells that the 43 sees. So these numbers should be the same. They're not. So these definitely do not connect with each other. Sorry if that's a bit obvious, but I'm just getting my head around this. Now the same must be true that way. The 40 doesn't have to be an 8-cell clue. That could be a 7-cell clue. But if it was an 8-cell clue, it definitely can't connect to the 44 for exactly the same reason it can't connect to the 43. Right, yeah. So the 43 and the 41 must work the same way. So we now have established that these 4 cells are different coloured regions. They are separate regions. So okay. So what I'm interested in now, I'm thinking about the 1 that's given in the grid, and the fact that that is in the same column as the 43 clue, and the fact that 43 clue is in the same row as the 44 clue. Because there is a relationship between these things. The 44 clue cannot see a 1. It cannot see a 1. So if this 43 clue... if this 43 clue takes this cell, is it possible that the 1 in row 1 can come from a different region altogether, because it would then need to? So the 43 could go all the way down there. I suppose it's possible. I really like this though. This feels like it's important. I'm just not quite understanding how to... I mean... no, hang on. Let me think about this differently. Let me just highlight this box. So these are the maximum number of cells that these clues see. Now there are 9, 18 and then 14 more, because we only count the 2 lots of 7 down there, look. So 32, this is 32 cells as a maximum that these 4 corner clues see. And we know that these two definitely see 8. So that's 16. And these two see a minimum of 7 each. There's no way you can make 40 or 41 without 7 cells in the clues. So that means that 30 of these purple cells, 30 of these 32 purple cells have got to be seen by these 4 clues. And possibly all 32 of them. Because if these were both 8 cell regions, then every single one of these cells would have to be... Ah, but that's not possible. No. You can't see... If these were both 8 cell regions, how on earth would we fill in these white squares at the bottom? Because they can't be part of a 9 cell region anymore. They're blocked off. Oh, this is fascinating. This puzzle is fascinating. So how on earth? I think this is the key thing. I've got to work out how these 2 regions here get 9 cells. So maybe I have to if I delete both of those, if I delete both of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I get 15 cells going around the perimeter. I need to reduce that to 9. Now I can put 2 off this. If this was a 7 cell clue, then 2 of these cells could be taken up with the rest of the 40 cage. So that gets rid of 2 of them. The 41, that needs to get rid of another. That could be a maximum of another 2. They could go over there. And the 43 could give me 1. Because we know that's an 8 cell region. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So I want to put those back in then. So that means that... Good grief, this is confusing. But I feel I'm really close to a breakthrough here. Now, I can't connect these round the perimeter. And if I just remove one of these cells, if I just remove one, this axiomatically, this is not a 9 cell region. And the only thing that will happen as a result of me filling in more cells from the 40 clue or the 41 clue is that it will become even smaller. So you can't remove both of these, and you can't remove one of them. These are both, therefore, they remain in the lattice. These 2 clues are definitely part of the 41 clue, because the 41 clue is the only clue that can see them. This square, therefore, must also be part of the 41 clue, because otherwise it's a 1 cell region. So I am going to grey those in. I think these 4 cells are all part of the 41 clue. And now, in placing that one, look, so now, sorry, I'm not being very articulate. I'm trying to get my head around this. I've now definitely got 2 distinct white regions that need to become of size 9. So I need to introduce gaps. So one of these squares must be a gap to allow this white region to connect with the rest of the grid. Similarly, one of these cells must be a gap to allow this white region to connect with the rest of the grid. Now this means that of my original lattice, let me go back to that, I have to take 2 cells out. So the sum is 30. which means these two clues are both 7 cell. They each see 7 cells. These two see 8 cells. So this one is missing a 1 and a 3. This one does not see a 1 or a 3. So this square, which we know is part of this one's region, has to be a 1 or a 3. Make those grey again. Seven cell region. Now, no, hang on. Let's go back to my first thought, which was where do we put a 1 in the first row? Because now I know this entire row is seen. This entire row is taken up with the 44 and the 43 cell region, because I know that the 2 cells I'm taking out of this lattice are in this strip of cells and this strip of cells. I'm taking 1 from each of those. So this is complete. So where do I put the 1? The 1 can't be in whatever the 44 cell is taking up. So it has to be in the 43 cell region. That means that the 43 cell region cannot take this square, because if it does, you can't put a 1 in the top row of the grid. Right, so that means that this region, which is of size 8, can be 1, 2, but it must take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It must take all of those squares, therefore it must also take that square. Okay, so let's make that a different colour. I will make that blue. So the 43 cell region definitely sees those squares, and one of those squares is a 1. Oh, but the 41 cell region can't see this either, because it mustn't see a 1 or a 3 if it's missing 2 cells. So this cell is the gap. This cell is the gap. Therefore, that must be blue. These must be grey. Oh, that is... Oh, I'm proud of that. That is really, really cool. So now the 43 region, the cells the 43 region sees are complete. The 44 region, we know it sees 8 cells. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It sees all the way down there. Maybe I'll just leave that purple. Then this one must see that square, and it must see 7 cells, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that's it. This is going to be the other gap then. So let's put that red. This square cannot be, we know this white region has to get out, and it must get out there. And there we go. This is the initial, I think, idea of the puzzle. Now, right, the 44 region doesn't have a 1 in it. So the one in column 1 has to be in one of those 2 cells. Oh, that's a bit obscured actually. I'll put them in the middle, I think, so I can see them. The 43 region is missing a 2. The 41 region is missing a 1 and a 3. Well, it's not missing. Obviously, these numbers are appearing in the overall 9 cell region, but they are not appearing in the lines. In none of those cells can be a 1 or a 3. So the 3 up there must be in one of those 2 squares in column 8, I suppose. And the 2 must be in one of those 2 cells. Oh, this is so strange. Now, okay, so now do we... So this region, however big it is, because of course this 40 region could come into 2 of these cells, but it can only come into 2. So this square simply has to be part of this this square's region, because if it isn't, basically you run out of room. You're going to either cut it off, because the 40 can only take a maximum of 2. If you try and put those 2 there, you make a 2-cell region here. That's not possible. So hopefully it's clear that if this 40 clue takes 2 clues in the bottom row, it would have to be those 2, which means that these 4 are all part of the same region. They have to escape, even if these are part of the 26 region. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it has to go up 1 more at least. So this is all part of a different region. Let's make that... sorry about this. I'm trying to pick a good colour. Maybe green. Is that okay? Now, the 26 region. Now here's some logic. Here is some logic. The 26 clue must not see, in either of these directions, cells totaling 19, because we know its total region is 45 large. Now 19 cells, cells adding to 19, there must be at least 3 of them. There must be, because 8 and 9 only add up to 17. So this is the total number of cells this 26 clue sees. It's already seen 6, it must not see 3, so these 2 cells must be red. They are part of this region. And these are the 2 that this one doesn't see. And this one does see a 1, so these 2 cells are 2 and 3. That means that's a 1, that means that's a 1. Good grief. Okay. Let's carry on with the green region though, because that means this square can't be part of the green region, so the green region has to turn. Now the green region can't hit the 5 clue, because the 5 clue is exactly 2 clues before a turn. If it goes that way, that's 3 cells in a line, which would break the 5 clue, so the green must go up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this now goes... This now goes in one of those 2 cells, I think. The 22... Can the 22 belong to the grey? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it can't belong to the grey, because the grey's only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, if this was grey, these 2 cells would have to sum to 22, and they don't. So this is part of a different region, which I will make red, just because I don't think this region can connect to this. Oh, I suppose it could come over the top. I'll make this orange. So the 5 clue now, is that 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, this red region is finished, so the 5 clue is a totally new region. Unless it loops over and joins the 22. Oh, good. This is so complicated. Okay, I don't know. I don't quite know. I don't think I can be sure that the 5 isn't orange. So let's have a look now, though, at this white region, though, because this grey region could take a maximum of 1 of these 4 cells. Now, it must take a cell that doesn't isolate a region, so it could take this cell, that's it. So these 4 cells and this cell are definitely part of the same shape. That cell comes out 1 more, therefore 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's still got to go at least 1 more after that. But let's colour those in purple maybe. And have another stare and see if we can spot something clever. Right, I've got something. The 26 clue doesn't see 3 cells summing to 19. Now, those 3 cells, therefore, cannot include a 1, because 1 plus 8 plus 9 is not 19. So the 1 must be seen by this 26. There's a 1 here and a 1 here, so the only option is this cell. This is a 1. Oh, look, we can finish the grey, because the grey needs to take 1 more cell. If it's this one, then those 2 cells would have to sum to 28, and they can't. So the only cell that that can take is that one. And the grey region now is finished as well. So we've done 2 regions now. Now, look, we can do some geometry. We have a 2 and a 3 here. So the 2 and the 3 cannot appear in those squares in row 8 of the grid. So the 2 and the 3 have to appear in these squares. But we know that the 3 is not seen by the 41 clue. In fact, we know that that's the 3, therefore. That is the 3, because that's a 1. We know the 1 and the 3 are not seen. So the 3 must go here in row 8, and one of these 2 squares must be a 2. Not seen. I'll just change the notation to those. Now the 5 clue, look. The 5 clue, which is part of its... Oh, it could be orange. But anyway, it can't be a 1 or a 3 anymore, so that's got to be a 2 or a 4. Now, the second cell, I'll make this yellow actually, the second cell in this 5 region, can it be here? Well, if it is, this square would have to be a 1 or a 3 and it would clash, so no, it can't be there. So the 5 region turns up and then finishes and turns left, which means the green region goes 1 further. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've done the green region, the orange region comes up. Oh, now this is interesting. Can the orange region join to the purple region? And it can't, because it would create a 9-cell region in which you couldn't put a 3 because of these 3s. So the orange region must turn that way. This must be a 1 or a 3. This is part of a different region. It can't be green because green is finished. It can't be yellow. It can't be purple because that purple would cut off this orange. So it's probably going to be orange. Oh, but there's a different region down here as well. Oh, good grief, this is complicated. This is so complicated. So I'll make this grey, look, because that won't interfere with this one, which is finished. So this region must extend that way. Oh, and there's a nice little bit of logic as well. The 44 region has to take 1 more cell, and that cell will be a 1, because the 44 is not allowed to see a 1. So we know none of these squares is a 1. So where does that 1 go? Well, most specifically, it doesn't go here. Because if this square was purple, this would have to be the 1, and that would clash. So this square cannot be purple. It cannot be red. It can't be yellow, because yellow can't be big enough and go round in a circle such that this can be a 9-cell region without making the yellow like, I don't know, a 15, 16-cell region. So this square is grey. Okay, and let's carry on with this then. So yeah, this is really important, because if we look at this row now, we've got a 1 and a 3 already placed. So is this 13? Can we make this 13 sum with 4 cells? So is it possible that this goes up this is grey. Well, if that was true, what's the minimum I could make those squares? Well, the problem is I can keep clashing with this 2, 4, aren't I? In fact, I don't even think I need to think about whether or not this can be 4 cells. I just can't use 2 and 4 in this sum. It's impossible. So if I use the 2, I'd have to use 5 and 6, and that adds up. That adds up to 13. So this has to be 2, 5, and 6, I think. I can't see another way of doing it. So if that's 2, 5, and 6, that is 4. That's 1. This square must not be grey. So the grey must come out that side and must continue. And this probably has to be yellow. Yeah, it does have to be yellow, because if it's orange, there's just no way the orange can create enough room to make this a 9-cell region. So that's yellow. This square can't be grey, because the grey would lock off the yellow. It can't be purple, because the purple would lock off the orange. So this square, which can't be yellow, must be orange, I think. I'm not sure how useful that is, but look, this is a 22 clue now, and it sees 3 cells. So this must include a 9 as one of those cells. It's the only way of getting to 22. Done quite a lot, look, along here now. We're missing 7, 8, and 9 into those 3 positions. Oh, of course, look, the 26 is not seeing cells totaling 19. So it's these 3 cells that sum to 19, but also one of those cells must be a 2, because we can't put a 2 in those cells. So these squares actually have to be 2, 8, and 9. So these squares have got to be 4, 5, 6, and 7. These squares have got to be 8 and 9 along the bottom row, look. Oh. Okay, so now look, we can do more geometry on the grid, because whatever I put in that square can't appear in any of those positions. So whatever I put in that square has to be the same as that square. And so you can see this one is an 8 or a 9, so this one can't be a 2. The 2 must live here. This must be an 8 or a 9. And whatever I put in this square has to appear in the blue region. Oh, this is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Whatever I put in here has to appear in the blue region. But we know the cell that the blue region doesn't see is a 2. So there's going to be a 2 in one of these cells. But this cell, therefore, has to be the same as that cell. And it can't therefore be a 3. So this is a 3 and this is an 8 or a 9. That creates a 7, 8, 9 triple in this column. Okay, which is great, but I don't know what it means. No, I'm really not sure. So these squares have got to be 2, 4, 5, and 7. So let's label those up. Okay, but more geometry now. This square, you can see that these three squares are not the same. They haven't appeared in row 8 yet. So this square, which is an 8 or a 9, which one of those is going to be an 8 or a 9? It can only be this one. So this is not 2. This is an 8 or a 9, therefore this is 2. And none of those squares are 2. So we've now got an 8-9 pair, so this is a 7. That's not 7 anymore. That's an 8-9 pair here. Good grief. I mean, how? Ahaupt, how did you construct this? This is just... It is bamboozling and beautiful. And I'm stuck on it. Okay, so what is the next thing I need to think about here? What's the next thing? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in this region. I've got a bit of logic. I've got some logic. This square is important because if this square is part of the orange region, let's make it orange for a moment. We can look at this. If this is orange, this square and this square see no digits in common. They are not. It's impossible. You know, this 22 is seeing cells in this direction and this direction, so it's only seeing those three. This one is seeing whatever it's seeing, but it's not seeing those three. So this region would have to have 48 size, 26 plus 22. That's impossible. The maximum size is obviously 45. So this must be orange. This square, therefore, can this be yellow then? If it can't be yellow, it has to be purple. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, so it can't be yellow because although yellow could reach it, the only way it can reach it is by isolating the orange before it reaches size 9. This can't be reached by the blue because the blue's only got one more cell to give it. This is purple. Now this square is interesting to me because what is it possible that this square is blue or purple? Let's look at that. So if this square is blue, we now know that these three white squares have to be filled, but the only valid shape that could fill them would be the purple shape, which is of size 7 already. So that would make the purple shape of size 10 not possible. So this is not blue. If it's purple, if it's joining this purple region together, you can see that the only way of making this purple will be to connect to finish the purple region like that, for example. And now both of these squares can't be blue, not possible. So this square is not blue and it's not purple. And again, the only way of making it yellow will be to isolate the orange region. This is orange. Now this is huge. This is so important because now oh no, maybe not. Is it possible this square is now not orange? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, that's not possible. This is orange. 4. So we've now got 8 cells in the orange region. $28 here. So this could see 3, I guess. If this was 1, 2, and 3, it seems unlikely, but I think it is possible. So how do we fix this now? And again, apologies if you guys are seeing an obvious way of me making progress. There is a lot of things I'm trying to hold in my head here though, so I'm quite sure I'm not doing this efficiently. Oh, come on. Let me try. Here's something a little bit interesting. Oh, it's so close, look. I need to put a 1 in the orange region, and I can't put 1 in any of those cells. The purple region has to take 2 of these white cells. This square can't be blue, because if this square is the blue 2, it would clash with the 2 we have in column 6 already. So this square, therefore... Oh, I was going to say it has to be purple, but I'm not sure it does. Maybe this could be orange. Oh, this is mind-bending. If it was orange, those 2 would then have to be purple, because the purple needs 2 more cells. And that would almost give us a huge problem with placing a 3 in the purple. In fact, where does the 3 go in the purple? It will have to be in one of those 2 cells. That's the only place you can... Oh, it's the only place the 3 could go because of these 3s down here. None of those are 7. Oh, I think that's because they should be labelled with 4, 5 and 6. Oh, so this square can't be orange because you can't make 25. So this square is either grey. If this square is grey, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that isolates the yellow before it reaches size 9. So this square is yellow. Six, 7, 8. I'm so close, I think, to cracking this now. I'm so close. If I can just get this orange figured out, I think we would be cooking with gas. 6. Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting to think about whether that could be... Well, actually, yeah, that's interesting. Where does the purple, the last purple square go? It can't go here because there's already a 1 in the row. So this square has to be another colour. If it's yellow, you quite clearly can't get enough grey. So that's grey. This is grey. Oh, no, go away. Postpone. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, there's another interesting thought I've had. Sorry, I'm having thoughts, but they're not very cleverly ordered. Wherever the purple 1 goes, it is going to be the 1 in column 2. So the grey region is going to have to get a 1 from somewhere. It can't be those squares. It's not going to be able to be those 3 squares either. So it's going to have to try and get a 1 from column 3 or possibly column 4. So where is it going to get that from? So if this was a 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But then this square couldn't be reached, could it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, that's just not right. This square cannot be purple. So this square has to be grey. Because if it's yellow, it cuts off this grey square. So now this square is the only position that the last purple can take. So at least we've got that figured out. This can't be the grey one because of the one in here. One, two, three, four, five. Oh, that's quite interesting as well about where the orange gets its one from, because now this can't. Well, we can't have a one in either of those two squares. So the orange one has to be either here or there. Oh dear. Sorry about this. I'm well aware that this is not efficiently being solved. Oh, hang on. This purple set region of size 4 is 26. You can't make 4 cells add to 26 if one of them is a 1. So that therefore must be purple. Oh, and that's huge. Oh, this is nice, because now those two white squares can't both be purple anymore, and the only other colour available is blue. So these are the blue and purple squares that I'm looking for, which means that the orange... I don't know where the orange goes still. The orange's last square could be there. Oh, but what else can reach these squares up here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ah, the yellow can get there. In fact, the yellow 25, maybe that's where I should have been focusing my attention, because obviously 1, 2 is not enough. 3 is not enough. It has to therefore take that square for certain. Now this can't possibly be grey, because that would cut off the yellow, so can it be orange? I don't think it can be orange, because if it's orange, you get this configuration which finishes the grey there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, no, the grey would finish here, but there's nowhere to put a 1 in the grey. So that doesn't work. This square has to be yellow as well. And that means the orange is finished, finally. Oh, I'm sure there was many better ways of doing that than that, but at least I've done it. So, 25 here. I keep thinking maybe I should focus more on the Sudoku in order to... 26 here, containing a 3 and a 1, so the other 3 cells add to 22, so must include a 9. So there is a 9 in one of those 2 cells. Ah, and it can't, there's a 9 in one of those, so actually we get the 9. The 9 must be here. That fixes the 8 down here, 8, 9. That fixes that as an 8 because of the logic we did earlier. That fixes that as an 8. That as an 8. Okay, well that's nice and all, but it's not enough. It's going better than I thought it would, though. I was very much expecting this puzzle to be likely to be consigned to the blooper reel, and it may still be consigned to it, but at least I've given it a good crack of the whip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that, yeah, here we go. I can revisit the logic I did earlier about where does the 1 go in the orange? It can only go here. So the grey region, it also needs an 8. Look, it hasn't got an 8 in it yet. So it's got 7 cells. It needs a 1 and an 8. It's somewhere in this column. The 1 can't be here. I suppose the 8 could be there. If this... Yeah, okay. So if this was grey, there would be nowhere to put a 1. So this is yellow and that fixes it. Okay, that fixes it. Yellow, yellow, grey, grey. Where does the 1 go in the grey? It must go here. There must be an 8 here. There must be a 3 here to make the 12 clue work. The 3 and the 2 get resolved at the bottom. That's not 2 anymore. That 9 fixes the 8 over there on this side. And we're almost at the point where we're doing a regular Sudoku, which is not my métier, but never mind. 4, 7, 9 into these squares. Let's pencil mark that in. I can see that can't be 9. So let's have a look down here now. This must be a 5 or a 6. It looks like that's entirely possible. So how many 1s have I got in this grid now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the last one must be placeable there by Sudoku. Now, what next? It's probably going to be some geometry that we need to do that's going to be obvious once we see it. Maybe 8s. Should we have a look at 8s? We've got lots of 8s already in the grid. 6 of them. So we need to put an 8 in the yellow. Can't go in any of those squares. It can go in 3. It can go in all 3 of those, can it? Okay, well that's not very helpful. Oh, 8 in the purple maybe. So the 8 in the purple... yeah, 8 in the purple is good. It has to be in this square because it can't be in either of those 2 squares. So that is an 8. That gives us our 7th 8 in the grid. We still need to put an 8 in the yellow. And we need to put an 8 in the orange. So the 8 in the orange has to go here. Oh, that's nice. So this is the 8 in the orange. Then the 8 in the yellow goes there. Now, this 26, look, the only way of making this add up to the right number is with 3 and 5. Oh, that's remarkably unhelpful. These squares, therefore, have got to be... no, hang on. One more of these also has to be purple, doesn't it? So I've got to be a bit careful here. 2, 4, 6, and 7 are the options for those squares. So I've not managed to place a 5 yet. In row 9 of the grid. So there's a 5 in one of those 2 cells. Now, if this was 5, it couldn't be purple because the purple already has a 5, and it couldn't be blue because the cell that's off that isn't seen by this is not 5, it's a 2. So that square must be the 5, which is extremely weird, but I think is correct. So this is either 2, 4, 6, or 7, but it could still be blue and it could still be purple, I think. That's so annoying. So the 2 is in one of those 2 cells, and wherever it lives, it must be the blue 2. So it's going to be one of these clues I've not... Oh, it's probably this one, isn't it? Look, 28. Yeah, okay, so this is 22 in this direction, so I need 6 in this direction. This is a 5. That's not 5 down there, therefore. So, so if this is 22, it's now 9, 6, and 7. These squares here have got to be 2, 3, and 4. That's a 4. This is a 2, 3 pair. The 2 over here means this is a 3. That's going to be nice, because that locks the 3 and the 5 into place. That's not 4 anymore. Oh, that little flurry of activity was sort of exciting, but it looks like it's burnt itself out. So 6, 7, 9 here, 6, 7, 9 here. So along here I need 4, 5, 6 and 7. But the 4 here is quite... That means these ones have got to be 5, 6 and 7, look. It's not good enough. It's not quite cracking, is it? Oh, here's something. 9s in the grey and 9s in the green are locked into the same rows of the grid. So the 9 in the orange can't be a third 9 in those 2 rows. So those 2 are not 9. This is a 9. Well, we're edging up towards our longest ever video. But it's also one of our best ever puzzles, so I'm perfectly happy with that. 4, 6, 7. Just need, I think, probably to have 1 or 2 more clever thoughts and we'll be good. Here's a good thought. Look, this 25 clue. That means those squares add those squares add 25. Those add up to 5. That's 30. These 2 have to add up to 15, therefore, without using 8. These are 6 and 9. No! How does that not help? Well, it does help a bit, because it does allow me to remove a 6 from those 2 squares, which does give me a 4 in this box. This one, we can do the 9 trick again. That one can't be the third 9 in those rows, so that's a 6, that's a 9 up there. The 6 resolves the 6 and the 7. That resolves the 7 and the 9 and the 2. I still need to put 2 and 3 into this box. Look, that's got to be that way round. Oh, goodness me. Imagine if I find I've got an error in here now. That would just be heartbreaking. That can't be a 6. So 2, 4 and 5. That's got to be a 4 or a 5. Ah! 4 5s into those 2 squares. So this must be a 2. Ooh! That means that must be a 2 and that 4 must be the blue 2. And finally, I have done the geometry. I've sorted out the what's what in the grid in terms of the areas. So this has got to be a 6 or a 7. This square, that's got to be a 6 from the row. That's a 7, therefore. Therefore, that must be a 6. 6, 7. This has got to be a 4 by Sudoku. 5, 7, 6. Oh, please, please get it right. 4 and 5 are resolvable. Oh, goodness me, this is so close to cracking, isn't it? This is a 3. Yes, that works. That can't be a 6. That can't be a 2. 5, 6 here, so this has to be a 2. Okay. So now we can do some tidying up down there. Look, that's got to be a 4 or a 5. So this has to be a 4 or a 5 from the column logic. There's a 5 in the box. 4. This is a 5 now. 6, 7s and 9s. So you can see the 9 can only go in this position now. This has to be a 6 or a 7. It's a 7, 6. Oops, I nearly deleted the wrong digit there. That would be a disaster. 5, 7. Oh, please crack. 4, 6. 4 here. So this is a 6, 7, 4, 7. This square should be a 6. It looks like it is. 6, 5 gets placed like that. 4 and 9. It looks right. 9, 4. Yes! Oh my goodness me. What a puzzle. Oh, that was so difficult, but amazing. What an amazing idea. Amazing execution. There's going to be loads of places where I was inefficient there. So I hope you guys will forgive me. But I wanted to give the puzzle a try, and I did manage to solve it, even though the video is very, very long. And that must be worth some of you becoming patrons of the channel, maybe. Anyway, we'll see you later on with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.